he would not let it go. He was doggedly determined to make it happen. And that's what it takes around here.
This week, Florida Congressman Byron Donalds realized his dream of renaming the press gallery, the workroom where I work every day, filing my stories above the House of Representatives, sort of the stadium seating in the room behind it. He renamed it after Frederick Douglass, the abolitionist icon, right? And it was a story that began with a profile that I did of Donalds in Vanity Fair in 2023. And in the profile, Donalds mentioned that he was thinking about renaming the gallery, right? And this is kind of how things happen in Congress, right? Ideas come up and a couple Congresses later they pass. I know some of you might be saying like, okay, how is this important? Why on earth, of all the terrible things that are happening in America today, why is the House focused on renaming things? And it's not a bad question, but at the same time, I will say this, right? A lot of members of Congress who have the power to name things in the building will name things after themselves. Mike Johnson named my workroom after Frederick Douglass, and I kind of appreciate it. I think it's kind of cool. This is how Mike Johnson last week introduced the Frederick Douglass Press Gallery. Roll tape.
For nearly 200 years, since its inception in the 1800s, the House Press Gallery has always been named just that. Neither the House Gallery nor the Senate Gallery has ever borne the name of any American in the history of this institution. That, of course, changes today with the historic unveiling of the Frederick Douglass Press Gallery. I'm proud to have played a small part in the dedication of this treasured House institution alongside my dear friend Byron Donalds, and I want to commend him, Congressman Byron Donalds, for his resolve in spearheading this effort. He would not let it go. He was doggedly determined to make it happen. And that's what it takes around here. Douglass built a life and legacy off the power of his pen and his powerful voice. And he wielded that power to great effect in this institution, in the halls that will now appropriately bear his name.
So there you have it. Mike Johnson introducing the Frederick Douglass Press Gallery, which he is correct, was never named anything other than the House Daily Press Gallery since it was built in the 1850 Capitol expansion. And it could not have been done without Byron Donalds. Byron Donalds was the leader of it. He got all the other Black Republicans to support this measure. There were other people. I think Jim McGovern was the lead Democrat supporting it from the Democratic side, and the resolution passed through suspension of the rules a few months ago. And so when Byron Donalds got up before, and just, for awareness, in the crowd were relatives of Frederick Douglass and the Rayburn Room when this happened on Thursday. And this is what Byron Donalds said.
Naming the press gallery after Frederick Douglass is a deliberate choice. Today, we often see the media landscape as fractured, but Douglass showed us what the press is supposed to be. A beacon of truth that bypasses the powerful to reach the people. His life story from the field, from the slavery fields, to the world stage is one of the greatest narratives of perseverance in U.S. history. He didn't see himself as an outsider looking in. He saw himself as a rightful heir to the promises of 1776.
I like that. Okay. Beacon of truth that bypasses the powerful to reach the people. Ultimately, that's kind of what YouTube is, right? That's kind of like what we're doing here in this channel that I've just started. And thankful, almost 600 of you subscribe, and I can't tell you how grateful I am to have you. I didn't expect to have this many subscribers this quickly. So thank you for that. But what they say, what the lawmakers say and do is kind of what I want to explore with this channel of Migrant Insider, right? Like immigration obviously is the core focus of my beat. At the same time, I'm in the building every day, and there are moments like the Frederick Douglass moment where you feel some sort of solidarity because Frederick Douglass, and this is from my scoop, and it says a legend known in the press gallery. In 1871, Douglass and his son were the first ever Black press credentialed to cover Congress as members of the Daily Press Gallery. As editor and publisher of the New National Era, Douglass covered the House and Senate until the newspaper went out of business and its equipment was publicly auctioned in 1875. 72 years will go by before Percival Prattis, Louis Lautier, and Alice Dunnigan were the next Black reporters credentialed to cover the Capitol. That was in 1947. The Standing Committee of Correspondence commemorated Douglass's press pass in 2007 with a placard that hangs outside of the House chamber. Last year, I put up an oil painting of Douglass above the Associated Press workspace in the same room, with, of course, their permission, where it has been ever since. And honestly, it's a pretty good painting. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Pretty good painting, oil on canvas, 24 by 36, Frederick Douglass, and now in the Frederick Douglass Press Gallery, where, I told Speaker Johnson, I was like, This is the painting, and he was kind enough to give me this selfie with Byron Donalds, which I'll cherish. I'm going to get this one printed out for the walls. That is the genesis of the Frederick Douglass Press Gallery, which will be forever known, the Frederick Douglass Press Gallery, which is kind of cool. There's some things that happen in Congress that will outlive you and your time here. And this was a story that I covered from the beginning. The room was renamed, and the sign above the door was unveiled on Thursday before a ceremony with Frederick Douglass and his relatives that included artifacts from the National Park Service and the Library of Congress. It was just really cool to see that happen. Forgive me if this video isn't completely relevant to the immigration beat, but it is a video that is important to me to produce and put out there so that just historically people know what happened on Thursday and why the press gallery, the workroom for the reporters, is named after Frederick Douglass, one of our own, credentialed daily press gallery member from 1871 until 1875. Frederick Douglass on the placard now in the room where he worked, filing stories that bears his name. Pretty fucking cool. Please like and subscribe. Get a lot of video every week. And so I have decisions to make about kind of what I put together as videos here. But let me know. And if you see my work elsewhere, thank you so much for following it. And, if you want to support my work, migrantinsider.com is my daily news immigration newsletter that breaks a lot of news. It breaks a ton of news. You can find my reporting on Instagram, Twitter, all over the internet and right here on YouTube. Well, I really appreciate you watching.